So, Brian, when I think about our industry, the whole industry, whether it's a unsafe driver, unsafe equipment, whatever that is, so many times, you see the drivers post other drivers, or you see companies making bad decisions for safety by saying drivers go ahead and run and get that load delivered no matter what. All these things that happen. I just think that we've got to make sure that our industry, because that affects our industry. It doesn't affect that driver that didn't get out and look. It didn't affect, it affect our entire industry. And I just think we as an industry, we've got to realize that that driver that's a new driver out there, do that for a second. A driver that's brand new out there driving on their own, that's trying to back up, that's struggling. We can sit there and take a video of them and share it on TikTok and say, "There's another Swift driver," or that's always the jokes on that. Or we can do the right thing, have the courage to get out and help this person and give them the skill set that you've learned over the road. Brian, we as trucking as leaders in the industry, whether you're behind the you're in the cab or you're behind a computer, we've got to realize that the decisions that we make or the impact that we have on the industry in a positive way, if we have the courage to not make fun of, but to help our fellow trucking companies, our fellow drivers out there on the road in getting better and safer, all of that. I mean, I've just been thinking about that a lot this week. Give me some thoughts on that. I mean, just kind of along that line.
Yeah. Rick, we're our worst enemy. The industry as a whole, we are our own worst enemy. Everything from what you're talking about there, where we, experienced drivers don't get out and help a new driver that's having issues. And, that I always love when there's things posted about these larger companies or these big monster companies. Well, where do you think you're going to see more drivers having issues, in a company that has 22,000 trucks or one that has 10? So, and those companies that have 10, those guys started somewhere. And
Yeah.
I often wonder if drivers forget where they started. I spent 8 years as an over the road trainer, and, there was drivers that I would help that I wasn't training. You just try to make them better because it makes our whole industry better. And when the industry is going bad, let's take that. Our biggest problem right now is truck parking.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying that this is the cure to everything, but there was a time when we could pretty much park anywhere. There was big box stores that would allow us to park in their parking lots because they just looked at it as a way to get another customer. But we were our own worst enemy in trashing the parking lots and making it unsafe for other people, leaving the trucks running in a residential area next to homes, and people would call and complain. Now the store won't let trucks park there. We had that ability, and now we don't.
Yeah.
There are signs everywhere. There's barricades everywhere. And quite honestly, I think we did a lot of that to ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's a real drag, Rick, that, there's a lot of, in society alone, there's a lot of us versus them.
Yeah. So how do we, I mean, I make a big point to those that I talk to make sure that, hey, you know what, that you realize that you're part of this industry. I mean, what can we do? Because I do think I think a lot of it comes to the leaders of the trucking company. First of all, I mean, are you talking to your drivers to let them know that, hey, we need your help, not just for my trucking company, but if you see somebody else out there, hey, get out and help them back into that trucking spot so they don't back into another truck. Don't video that. Or, can you, what can we do to really encourage more collaboration, not using somebody else's sin, somebody else's mistake as a reason to come work for me over here? That shouldn't be the reason somebody's working for you.
Well, Rick, let's start at the beginning. When a driver goes to a school, the job of a trucking school, now this has changed a little bit with the ELDT stuff, but the main purpose of a school is get them to pass the test. That's
Got it.
it. That's their job. So when drivers come out of those schools and they go to companies where they're going to get trained, I think that we could, as an industry, do a better job training drivers.
Yeah.
And, you know, your scenario of helping someone back in as a driver, you're not going to get to experience every scenario of how to back in, what's around, things like that in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days worth of training. You're just not. So, this could very well be a situation where this driver that's trying to get into a spot or having a problem maneuvering, he's never encountered that before.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's so easy to you do it as clickbait to, make a video, post it, get
Yeah.
your likes, get your funny faces and stuff like that, and throw somebody else under the bus than it is to actually get out and help somebody. It's a real bad situation for us. And that is something that we have to conquer. We have to be able to look at the industry as a whole. And, I think there are associations and organizations that try to do that.
Yeah.
But I think part of a problem there is when you can't get those associations and to agree with each other. And let's face it, there's a lot of times you could go outside and talk to 10 different truck drivers, ask them what color the sky is, and you're going to get 10 different shades of blue.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And Brian, on the same thing, I just think too is we've got to make sure that we are arming our dispatchers, our frontline managers, our frontline supervisors with the ability to make the same decision to protect somebody. That when a driver calls in and they're worn out, they're tired, and as a dispatcher, you can typically hear that in their voice because you know who they are. You know what they sound like. You talk to them all the time. Is to have that ability to say, hey, planner, hey, manager, hey, operations person, hey, this person's done for the day. I know they have 7 hours left on their book, but they're worn out. And the respect level from a safety side that allows them to protect that person. And, because dispatchers have to stick up for these drivers too. Some of these drivers will tell them I'm worn out, but and the worst thing you can say, I just feel like, is, well, you have 10 hours. You took a 10-hour break. Brian, you've been on the road before. A 10-hour break, you're not a robot out there driving. You ain't like you get in the bed and you shut it down right away. There's so many things out there that again, our industry, we've got to have, I'm just going to say, we need more courage. We need more courage to do the action items to make a difference. If we want our industry to change, if we want our insurance rates to ever go down, hey, guess what? It's not going to happen unless we change some of our own habits.
Yeah, absolutely. The phrase safe and legal needs to become a value and not just words that are spit out because they're supposed to. If it's a situation, you're right, 10 hours, maybe that driver has something going on at home and they didn't sleep all night long. They've been just up thinking or, whatever the situation is. But the mantra of safe and legal has to rule the day. And that's all there really is to it, Rick. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing to operate by. Now, does that cause some grief on the getting delivered side? Maybe. But that will kind of really solidify your company as a group if everybody is running by that and not just saying the words.
Yeah, no, and it's a thing. It's a decision that as we start 2024, that I just hope that Brian, people like you and me and other trucking companies, that we can make an impact, a difference on people on that side right there, realizing that, folks, listen, if we want things to change, do we realize that we're going to have to change ourselves? That I get it. It's cold and it's rainy and it's snowy. But if you don't get out and look, you really don't know what's back there.
Yeah,
And
facts.
Yeah, I mean, all of the that we have to make that decision that says, hey, no matter what, I'm protecting life first. Yeah, so Brian, it's been something that just it's been on my heart. I don't know why this, last week and this week is convincing ourselves, our industry, us as dispatchers, as owners, as whatever we are in this, as a shipper, receiver, that if we don't change what we do, if we're scared to make a change, if we've done something because we've always done it that way, things will never change. Well, we're not going to bring more drivers into this industry, right? I mean, why would you want to come into an industry that, so we had Rebecca Brewster on our show yesterday with the ATRA Autry. She is now, I think, 30 or 31 years now working for there. So kudos to Rebecca. When she came into the industry, Brian, her first thing that she ever worked on was, check this out, because you brought it up earlier, was truck parking. Here it is 30 years later, and we're still talking about the same thing.
Yep.
It's sanity.
Well, and we can get into that whole situation, but I think a big part of that is just the way freight has changed.
Yeah.
Now you've got more trucks in a condensed area because of the regionalized freight systems. But one of the things that I think that we need to address is this industry has always been so darn reactive and not proactive. And I try to preach that as much as I can. We've got to be more proactive, because being reactionary, then you've got issues with more accidents, dealing with compliance issues. And I think I just saw it that they're trying to get a higher minimum on insurance pushed through again. Now that usually dies on the vine somewhere along the process, but one of these times it may not. And there's a lot of folks that want to see higher required limits on trucking. And if that happens, if you're not in a position to keep your insurance rates low by getting good rates, by having low accident rates, by having good scores, man, that's going to be the death for a lot of companies.
Man, a lot of them, Brian. I just think about this too. I always wonder, in every fleet, right? Especially those fleets that are probably, say, 50 trucks or smaller, is that, hey, these accidents that you're having today, or these CSA scores that are bad today, when it comes time for insurance renewal, hey, it's not like they're going to get better next year. These scores are sticking with you for 5 years. What you're doing today can affect your premiums for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, they can. The actual CSA scores stay on a carrier's record for 2.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's a rolling 2 years. So, you're constantly bringing stuff in. And well, I'll say this one thing about the insurance, and when it comes to your scores, the only way to improve your insurance position is that there is competition for your business.
Yes.
And if you're going to have high scores and you're going to have accidents and crashes and stuff like that, why would your incumbent insurance company lower your rate?
Yeah,
because
right.
There's no competition out there for it.
That's right.
No one else wants it. So,
and as an insurance company, I think too, people have to realize that the insurance companies has to make money. They're not in here to break even. So your lost runs need to be pretty impressive. And I guess too, my thought process on this, and I'm glad you said that, if you're running unsafe today, and usually a CSA scores can be indicative of lost runs. Your lost runs are sticking with you. How about that? Your CSA score may get forgiven, but them lost runs we're all looking at, and that drives the lack of or the more competition for your business.
Yeah, that's definitely staying with you 5 years. And any claim that's still open, there is no claim that gets cheaper over time. It just doesn't happen. So, with progression, not progression, but as these claims get older, they get more expensive. And something on there that's 3 years old, potentially, if it's still open, that was a pretty big claim, nothing settled, and they're figuring it's going to continue to go up. And, some insurance companies will try to ride it out and try to at least make money this year if they've lost money the year before or something like that. And at some point they just cut their losses.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see insurance companies bail out in 2024. So could that lead to another hard market? I don't know. But if there's less players out there, the cost is going to go up.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Brian, real quick, and I know we only got a couple minutes, but give me so for that, again, that 20, 30, 50 truck fleet out there that's wondering, it's a cost to me right now to have these cameras, the outward facing. Let's just talk outward facing cameras.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts? I mean, me, well worth the investment. I've seen it so many things. It's a no-brainer. But give me your feedback on the outward facing cameras. If I'm a trucking company and I'm debating, do I invest that money into it? What's your answer to me on that?
Yeah, I believe in the outward facing cameras. Obviously, it can definitely show prevent or non-preventability, and that's going to come into play hopefully this year when they redo the crash preventability determination or crash determination preventability program. That one of the things that they're going to add once it passes is anything that is on video that shows a non-preventable crash. That is absolutely huge. So something that doesn't necessarily fall into any of the other categories could now be taken to that category. The other part is it also shows driver where you can do some driver coaching.
For sure.
You can see some driver behaviors that you can address. Now, the one on cameras, think about this. If you don't have somebody that can actually take the time and view this footage, use it for coaching, use it for progressive discipline, use it for these different types of actions, you may want to hold off on getting something like that until you have somebody that can do that. The age old, it's worse to have the data and not use it than it is to not have the data at all.
Yeah, and if
So,
you're going to spend the money on it, my God, I'm going to tell you, use it because Brian, if you're, especially when we do coaching, right? And coaching doesn't mean you're in trouble. Coaching means exactly what it says. It's coaching. It's showing them the film because they may feel like they were 5 seconds behind that vehicle, but when they see it on film, Brian, it changes lives. It changes patterns. It allows them to see what they were doing. And there's no arguing that. When you see it on film, you now know, even if you've been driving for 30 years, that I've got something I've got to work on. I've picked up a bad habit. And they, most of the time, they're going to fix it because nobody wants to go out there and kill somebody.
no, absolutely. For a carrier, when you are able to address those types of behaviors and your fleet starts to improve and you can put your money more towards driver reward programs or something like that to where you're giving that opportunity instead of higher insurance rates, that is much better for your company as a whole. So there's a lot of positives there. And I guess it's a positive with a negative. The other part is if an insurance company sees with your cameras that you had a crash that is preventable, then they can really get on it trying to settle that claim. I
For
mean,
sure.
that's, let's get that thing done and out. So you don't have, goes back to, there's no such thing as a claim that gets cheaper over time.
That's right.
Get
Yeah,
it
you don't
done,
want to
get it
spend
out.
money on the attorneys.
Yeah. Yeah. That always is cheap.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Brian, I want to thank you for being on the show again today. Hope you're having a good start to the new year. What's we I know we're getting out of here, but what's on your schedule for the next couple of weeks?
Oh, the next couple of weeks, we've got some training coming up. We've got some, a seminar that we're doing for some customers in the Bowling Green area. We've got different seminars that Reliance Partners is putting on that we're going to be doing. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff in the hopper that's going to be coming out in the next probably 30 days or so.
Awesome. How much training? I mean, seriously, from a safety perspective at Reliance, I mean, how much time do you dedicate? Does your team dedicated to really helping your carriers that are on with Reliance?
It's it's hard to put an actual number on that, but we have been in a process of doing seminars all over the country. We did Phoenix, we've done Nashville, Knoxville, uh, Seattle, a couple different areas, all these different areas. And we'll go out and we'll talk to everything from different regulatory updates to how to prepare for an audit to um, our last webinar talked about all the new violations coming into play on the SMS. They've really starting to make some very direct violations instead of these catch-alls.
Got it.
So, that's different point values. So we talk about things like that, the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, where we're at with oral fluid testing, all these different topics that we'll take around and take on the road show.
I do appreciate what you do for our industry out there. Appreciate you and Reliance and all that y'all do out there. Keep it up. Keep making a difference out there, Brian. We need more folks out there like you to help our industry just continue its way, to getting safer every single day. Brian, appreciate you, buddy.
Keep preaching, Rick. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. Be good, sir. Thank you, bro.